Hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Cioffi on this Thursday, June 28th, 2018, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Let me just start off right from the get-go. In case you missed it last night, we had on our Joe and Joe Weather Show on Facebook a wonderful guest and a good friend of mine, meteorologist Bill Goodman with the National Weather Service in Upton, New York, which is on Long Island, and their forecast jurisdiction covers northeastern New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, southern Connecticut, and the lower Hudson Valley. Very, very interesting conversation. It is on the YouTube library. I did upload it last night, and it is there for your enjoyment. We touched on a number of topics, including another look at the ocean water temperatures in the Atlantic and what that may or may not mean for hurricane season. And we also talked about this heat wave that is about to begin here in the east, in the northeast, and in the mid-Atlantic states. I think we're probably going to see temperatures near 100 degrees on Sunday in some places. The GFS model back days ago had some really ridiculous numbers, and they sort of backed away from that initially. But now they've kind of split the difference a bit, but every bit of mid-90s to near 100 degrees for New York City and nearby areas not impossible for Sunday. And this is going to be a beach weekend for my neck of the woods. Also, by the way, for everyone across the U.S., because Wednesday is the 4th of July. Whenever the 4th of July falls on a Wednesday, it makes for very creative vacation planners, because you can set the holiday there in the middle of the week. And I know a lot of folks that basically make it a 9-day weekend, starting from this Saturday and carrying it right through all of next week and into the following Sunday. So a lot of folks are going to be out and about, and at least if you're in my area, you are talking about some real beach weather here, or pool weather. I've got mine ready to go. It's good because it is going to get some use, no doubt about it. So I want to start off. We're going to bring up the latest GFS. I want to show you the upper air with respect to what's going on here. And we've got this shortwave trough that is about to depart off the East Coast. And unlike what we saw through a good chunk of the month of June, where we had another shortwave follow it and bring down another shot of cool Canadian air where the warm-ups were short, this time around there is nothing left. That whole trough just lifts out. The mean trough lifts out, and you get a big upper high that builds right over the northeast. And it looks like that upper high peaks in strength on Sunday. So this could mean temperatures up into the middle and even the upper 90s up into central New England, and certainly into the 90s, even into parts of interior Maine. And Sunday, again, I think being the hottest day of this stretch, because after that, the high, while it still sits here along the East Coast, it starts to flatten a little bit. Rather than being oriented north-south, if you look at the difference here in terms of the upper high, I'm going to go back. I'm going to just go back a couple of frames. So here we are on Sunday, and you can see the axis of the ridge runs from New Jersey northward up into Canada on Sunday, and then on Monday that ridge turns more west-east, and that allows a bit of a change. I think the issue on Monday may be the surface wind, which could be a bit more southerly, and that will tend to make it, let's call it, less hot. It is still going to be hot, but it is going to be less hot. And with respect to when this all comes to an end, we are going to have to wait until that upper high kind of disappears. One of the things that the day run did, if you look off the southeast coast, there's a little cutoff upper low here that's drifting westward, so that kind of supports the ridge in between, and it's still there as we go through the 4th of July. Going to have to see if this winds up spinning any kind of surface low out of this. It doesn't appear that it does that. It has kind of a weak inverted trough that moves west-northwestward from south of Bermuda into the southeast coast with some showers. So that ridge is still there east-west through the 4th of July, and then it's only as we get toward the end of next week and into next weekend that we start to finally see a trough of magnitude dropping into eastern Canada and bringing that jet stream, the westerlies, down into South Carolina. So that will be that will put an end to the heat. When I say heat, I'm talking about 90 plus, and start to bring air masses back down from Canada as we move into mid-month. A lot of the long-range models are going along with this idea. So we'll jump to the surface map, and we'll go back to the beginning here. And of course, we're seeing, I'll do the current weather toward the end. But there's our weather system this evening that is moving through. It's not really a cold front. It's more like a dry line that's going by, because the air behind the front is actually hotter than the air ahead of it. So it's basically a line marking where the dew points are very high to slightly lower dew points. So actually tomorrow, it'll, technically if dew points get into the 60s, it starts to feel humid. Compared to today, it actually will feel a little more comfortable. You'll start to see the humidity really crank up here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states on Saturday as that upper high starts to really build, and the surface high is sitting right along the North Carolina coast. Notice we've got possibility of some severe weather moving through the northern plains during tonight and Friday morning, and then again as we go into Saturday night into Sunday morning in the upper Midwest, and eventually up into the Great Lakes. Into next week, from what's going on near me, I'm thinking the first chance that we could even see some pop-up thunderstorms might not be until Tuesday, when a weak disturbance kind of tries to push southward, a little surface trough there. And then on Wednesday, the 4th of July, also maybe some pop-up thunderstorms, but we don't see any widespread activity as far as thunderstorms are concerned through much of next week. There will be some later in the week as we move into the south. And by the way, just again to show you, with that upper low that's south of Bermuda and moves inland toward the southeast coast of the United States, you really don't see much. You see a little bit of a surface low here south of Bermuda on Monday, and then it just kind of loses it. It's like a little swirl that goes to the southeast coast of the United States. So at least from the standpoint of the GFS doesn't do very much with that. The European seems to have a bit more of an identity here with a low southwest of Bermuda on Tuesday of next week, and then has a little bit of a closed surface low, a broad closed surface low off the southeast coast when we get to about Thursday. And after that, it just kind of moves its way inland into the southeast coast of the United States. Sometimes you get these cold upper lows that drop down out in the Atlantic, and then drop so far south that over time, over a series of several to many days, you could have that system gradually warm up and become more tropical in nature, but it tends to be a very long process. It's not something that happens overnight. And a lot of factors come into play with some of these homegrown systems, as we like to refer to them. Here's the look at the severe weather threat this evening and tonight. And as always, let me remind you at this point that if you are watching this here at 7 minutes after 6 o'clock Eastern Time, that's the real-time radar behind it. If you're watching this on a replay later tonight, please check with your local National Weather Service office regarding the latest watches and warnings and the latest radars, especially when it comes to severe weather. You want to make sure you've got the latest data here. And here we go with the risk area tornado watch. 2 tornado watches have just gone up for North Dakota and parts of eastern Montana and northwestern South Dakota. That is inside an area of moderate risk for severe weather. And we have a severe thunderstorm watch to the east of that, extending across Minnesota into northwestern Wisconsin. A small severe thunderstorm watch that exists up in parts of northwestern Illinois. And also another severe thunderstorm watch in the southeast, where we have a slight risk for severe weather in parts of Alabama and southern Georgia, extending northward into a little small area in western Tennessee. So that's your slight risk, and you can see the severe thunderstorm watch that's embedded in there. So again, make sure if you're watching this later on tonight, if you happen to be watching it on a replay, to check your local National Weather Service office, which you can access at weather.gov. The rainfall from the Weather Prediction Center over the next 7 days looks like a lot of rain for the Gulf states, from East Texas on across into northern Florida. Some fairly sizable amounts on the order of 3 to 5 inches in some places. This is over a 7-day period, and that might be some of that tropical moisture that comes in off the Atlantic over time. We also have it busy across the upper Midwest. Again, this is more front-end loaded, in other words, coming through the first part of the forecast period with the showers and thunderstorms that are being indicated from now and over the weekend. Otherwise, you can see in the east, because of that upper high, there's not much in the way of precip, measurable precip, that's being indicated. The green amounts are all generally under a half an inch, and in some cases under a quarter of an inch. And actually, for areas in northern Virginia and Maryland, where it's been pouring rain on and off for the last 6 weeks, you're getting the possibility here, that little finger of 0 in terms of rainfall. So maybe unless there's the odd pop-up thunderstorm, you are going to enjoy a relatively dry streak. Here's the radar right now. I'll bring up the U.S. radar on full view. And activity up in northern New England as that warm front dry line goes through. We've got some showers and storms through the severe weather area in the southeast, and also that area that's moving into northwestern Illinois. The tornado watches that were issued this evening for Montana, for eastern Montana and parts of the western Dakotas, not seeing the thunderstorms firing up yet, but they probably will in a couple of hours. So again, this is the radar as of 6:10 Eastern time. I want to go back to the let's go back to the GFS. Let's look at temperatures here, because they're going to be the big issue going forward. We'll see what the models are doing with regards to the temperature profile. And let me just, we'll switch. We'll take a look at the GFS, and you know what? We're going to go tight on the Northeast and Ohio Valley. So here we go. I'm sorry, bear with me. And all right, so here's Friday at 2 p.m. Upper 80s and low 90s. You can see 90-degree readings from eastern Massachusetts. Pockets as you go south and west, but this is not going to be the high for the day. With where we are in late June, we'll probably see the high temperatures today for the day around 4 o'clock. So you could add on a degree or two to these numbers, and lower 90s as you get down from Washington, D.C. down into Virginia, North Carolina. Here's Saturday, so add a few more degrees on Saturday with temperatures generally low and middle 90s, and in Virginia, North Carolina, back through West Virginia, middle and upper 90s. And then as we move into Sunday, which is going to be the hottest day of this stretch, we're going to see temperatures in the 90s to near 100. The GFS has printouts of 104. We're back to those extremes again of what we had a couple of days ago in parts of eastern Massachusetts. Look, it's hot. Upper 90s to around 100, I think, is certainly doable for some areas. I'm not good at forecasting extremes here, so I'm just going to, probably wait till Saturday to see, just how high is high. These are actual temperatures, by the way. They are not hidden heat indices. Monday, suddenly the models have gotten hot again, so maybe they're discounting my idea of maybe more of a south wind. I'll have to go back and look. And still very hot on Tuesday, and still very hot on Wednesday. Sometimes you got to be, you got to be careful with the GFS with these temperatures. I want to just take a look at the NAM to see what the NAM did as far as highs for Sunday. The NAM looks like a bit more of a reasonable look to it. Also, what's interesting with the NAM only has it into the low 80s for some reason in eastern Massachusetts. I got to look close to see if there's some kind of back door here that it's trying to show. And then the temperatures that are 90s to near 100 as you get into southern New Jersey and maybe parts of southeastern Pennsylvania. But it's nowhere near as aggressive as the GFS. Here's Saturday's view, which is upper, mostly low and a few middle 90s. And then we'll go to Friday. And mostly upper 80s and low 90s. Let me go back to Sunday again. So here is Sunday. Let me make sure I got the right time frame. So this is 18Z Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering why it's doing this. Let's look at the surface. Oh, there might be, it looks like a little bit of a high that builds down from eastern Canada down through into New England. That's interesting. I don't know how real that is, but maybe there's a little bit of a backdoor front that moves into New England, at least the way the NAM sees it. The European have the same idea. Let's take a look. I have to go a little wider on the European here. And the European, well, not really. I mean, it has more of a northerly wind here. I don't know, the NAM seems to be standing in its own place. I'm not so sure, if I buy that. The NAM may very well be too low. We'll see. But, the GFS, on the other hand, may very well be too high. So, the European temperatures, from my understanding, are fairly aggressive throughout much of the Northeast and in the Mid-Atlantic states. Nothing to worry about other than that. What we showed you with regards to the Atlantic tropics, the Pacific tropics. Looks like there'll be a couple. We've got tropical storm. Let me see. I think it was Emily on the Pacific side. I'm sorry, Amelia. With an E, E-M-I-L-I-A. Top winds 45 miles an hour. This is forecast to strengthen a little bit, but it's already at 16. It's already at 15 north, and soon to be up at 17 north. And water temperatures really cool off considerably. So this is probably going to start to weaken after we get through into Sunday. Into Saturday. There are two other systems behind it. They both look like they're going to be out to sea systems, so I'm really not going to be too concerned about them. So let me come back to the board really fast. Timothy Veltman, yep, the scorches are coming up. Weekend scorcher was one of the hashtags I used today, along with the heat wave. Ridge retrogrades west after the 5th, 6th. Blorox Cleach agreed. Absolutely. Looks like that that Canadian jet's going to get active again. Johnny Quest. That all that rain and the soil moisture by you is probably going to help to keep the temperatures down a little bit in your neck of the woods, and the fact that you may get shut off from rain for a while, which I know you're very, very happy about. D.O. Nankumar, flash flood warning just issued for New York City. Let me just take a look. And I don't see it. No, there's a flood advisory. It's not a flash flood. It's a flood advisory that was issued. Okay, that's basically it's raining and there's flooding. All right, it's one of those overused things in my view. So that's the last of some of these thunderstorms that are moving through locally, by the way. I could actually pull up my local radar, and I'll bring that up. Oh, they just went to a flash flood warning. Okay. Sorry about that. You are correct. And also for extending, looks like that's for Queens. No, for the southern part of Nassau County as well. And yeah, there's one thunderstorm. Let's see. Here we go. So I'm going to bring this, and then I'm going to have to put this to a close here, folks. if you look carefully on the radar, there's one little cluster of heavy downpours over Nassau County back into Queens and New York City. There's some cells over into the eastern half of Long Island and Suffolk County, and then a couple of scattered cells elsewhere. So a little bit of nowcasting there, Dio. This is at 6:18. As I said earlier, check your local radars if you're watching this on the replay, because these radars are all dated. And if you're in the land of where severe weather is going on, you want to go to weather.gov to check that out. Join us tonight, of course, on the Joe and Joe Show. We'll recap everything and maybe be able to spend a little bit more time on what's happening. And just as a reminder, we're a participant in the Amazon Services LLC Associates program, which is an advertising program designed for this to provide a means for this channel to earn fees by linking to Amazon. And you'll find that link on the descriptor of this video or on this live stream. In other words, if you shop on Amazon and you go through my link, it's a great way to support my channel. It doesn't cost you a dime. Amazon throws me back some coin. I get some cigar money, and everybody's happy. And thank you very much for those of you who have used that link in the past, and hopefully more of you will use it in the future. All right, 9 to 15 tonight on Facebook, the Joe Rayo, Joe Cioffi, the Joe and Joe Weather Show will be on, so be sure to tune in, and I will upload it like I did last night's. Check out last night's with the meteorologist Bill Goodman as our guest. I think you'll enjoy it. We had a really fun time and talked about a lot of things regarding the heat wave, regarding the tropics, regarding long range. Even tried to talk about the Gulf Stream and a few other things. So check that out. And in the meantime, enjoy your evening. We'll see you tomorrow.